Lasagna is one of those dishes that you bake in the oven, take it out, and the whole family gathers around.
Correct.
You love it, don't you?
I do. It binds a family together, the lasagna.
Exactly. And it takes a little bit of work to do, but believe me, it's once you've made it, you're going to love it, and the whole family will enjoy it. And you can make it in advance.
Correct.
You can make lots of it. If we're going to do it, you might as well make a couple of batches of it.
I agree with you.
Pop some in the freezer. Now, we're going to start the bolognese sauce, and I'm going to put something special in the bolognese sauce. But the first thing I like to do is cook off some celery, some onion, some carrot, and some garlic, and a little bay leaf that I knocked off from somewhere. Into the pan it goes. This is a really hot pan because I want to get things going really quickly.
It.
So once that's in there, I add some olive oil. I'm also going to add some butter because butter makes everything taste better, doesn't it? So you sweat that off, Preeya. I'm looking for the vegetables to make it nice and sweet and luscious and delicious. Now, I'm going to add one of my favourite things, Nduja. I make this. It's a Calabrian salami that is really sort of pasty and you can spread it on toast and really hot. I'm using it today because I want that spice in there. So I just put it in like this.
And just bit, okay.
I put the whole lot in there. We're not mucking around. And just sort of bust it up with the spoon and you'll find that it will fall apart and go all the way through the mixture.
Wow.
And the smell coming off this is fantastic. Now, at this stage here, I'll add some salt because salt loves meat, meat loves salt. And some pepper as well. Can you hold the?
I can.
That's the special
spoon.
Exactly.
I understand.
My grandmother gave me that spoon, and I make every single lasagna I make. I use this spoon.
He's joking. I hope there are not people at home that eat this up.
In goes the minced beef. You can use any meat you want: pork, beef, lamb. They all work really well. You could even use lot more vegetables in here if you wanted to. But
could bump it up with lentils if you wanted to. That's what I often do.
Now, just stir that around. What we want to do is brown off that meat a little bit so we get lots of flavour into it. And then we add a little bit more salt to it. And then we add a little bit more pepper to it to make it even more delicious. You're loving this, aren't you?
I am. No one's doubting the deliciousness factor.
So what I'll do is a little bit of sherry.
Oh.
A little bit of sherry vinegar to give it some acid and some tartness. In that goes.
Nice.
I've also got some port and some red wine. If you can pass that to me as well. There we go. That's coming up beautifully. In goes the port. In goes the red wine.
Nearly did the Richo there.
You've got to make sure you add delicious wine and port all the time.
The port's interesting. So I often do red wine, but you're adding a bit of sweetness with the port.
Exactly. And I'll add a little bit more sweetness with the sugar.
Oh.
A couple of tablespoons of sugar, in that goes. That sort of balances out the salt. So if you're worried about having too much salt in your diet, just add some sugar to it. And that fixes it as well.
There we go.
And while we're here, I'll add some tomato passata. So this is going to start simmering away nice and gently. We want it really loose and juicy and lots of liquid in there because we're using instant sheets of pasta. So they'll cook really well. But the trick with them is to make sure that your sauces are really wet. And that way it'll turn out beautifully. Now, this pan here is ready for the bechamel sauce. So I've got some butter in there. So we're going to pop that into the pan.
When I make a traditional lasagna like this, my sauce is obviously quite different. But I also don't do the bechamel. So I often do ricotta instead, just as a little healthier option, a twist if you're looking for one.
Now, bechamel sauce, we start off with some butter, melt the butter, and then we put flour in there. Usually it's equal quantities of butter and flour. And then what you want to do is stir it around in a pot like this so it comes together. This is not the stage where you go outside and, you know, push the kids on a swing or something.
It will burn.
Exactly, it will burn quite quickly. And I've got the temperature up quite high. I want to get this going fairly easily. But it's just a matter of getting it together and see how it's like a slurry or like a paste in the bottom of it. It's just a matter of turning that round for a minute or so till it comes together. There's no lumps in there. And we want to cook the flour out a little bit. When we cook the flour out, the butter goes around it and starts to cook it a little bit so there's no raw flour taste. Really important. But this is also the bit that thickens up the milk so you get that lovely creamy sauce. And you see we've got the little nodules there?
Yes.
That's what we're looking for.
Nodules.
If you can pass me the milk, we'll start...
Massive jug of milk. Would you like me to pour it in, Chef?
Pour some of it in.
Okay, some.
What you do with this is pour a little bit in, that's enough.
Okay.
And then stir it around so the butter and the flour starts to soak up that milk and you get this sort of big clumpy thing with no lumps in it. So you can add some more in.
Yeah, I thought I could.
The trick is to add a little bit at a time. So
here we go. Have a friend in the kitchen with you, a good friend that you trust and adore.
Exactly, but if you haven't got that, you'll do really well. So in you go. So if you pour some of milk in there, a little bit more milk in there.
Okay.
That's it. Pour about, that's enough there.
Okay.
Now, if you do worry about getting lumps, you could pop a whisk in here, but I've been doing this for a long time. Salty old dog like me will do it with a wooden spoon. So mix that around. So get the last little bit in there. Now, if you can throw in that milk and I'll start hitting that together. Put it all in now.
Oh, wow.
And
okay.
I'm going to stir this around. While I'm stirring this around, they've got some basil over there and some oregano. If you can pick that, and by the time I've got this to a nice, smooth sauce, I reckon my bolognese will be ready. This will be cooked out. We'll have the herbs ready to go, and we'll be able to bring this together. We're ready to assemble now, Preeya. All of the good stuff's in here. I've got all the oregano and the basil, and I'll stir it through it the last couple of minutes so you get that lovely fresh flavour. And you can see how juicy it is. There's lots of liquid in here, and that's really important when you're using these sheets, and that way they cook all the way through and they're going to be delicious. So I'll spread some of that on there. Feel free to sprinkle some cheese on there.
Oh, feel free. Okay.
Let's have some fun with this one.
Okay, here we go.
I like to put a little bit of the bechamel, just sort of, a couple of dollops here and there. That's
so are we putting this cheese in too?
You can do whatever you want. I want you to go freestyle.
I didn't realise I had some creative licence here.
I want you to put the Richo cap on your head and say, what would Richo do? And go nuts. Now, pass me some lasagna sheets. We'll load it up. What about some salami? You want to put some salami in there?
You want to go? Okay.
I want you to go nuts.
So again, I can imagine this is really, really delicious, but I am thinking there's a lot of salt and processed meat in here.
Oh, yes. Isn't that
bowel
wonderful?
cancer risk.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
It is fantastic.
That's almost the best part of it. And then you lay down some of these sheets. Now, I don't mind if they overlap a little bit, and feel free if you've got it using a different type of container, you can bust them up a little bit. They work just the same. So
I do bust them, but you just overlap them. There you go.
I just overlap them, all the same to me. And then I put another big ladle of the meat and the sauce and all the good stuff on here.
So when I use these at home, I use the wholemeal version that San Remo do. I love them. So they're just a little bit of extra fibre and goodness.
I'm sure that would be fantastic.
They're very yummy, but again, you want that juiciness. Sorry, you want me to...
Cheese, salami,
I was busy talking.
Mortadella. We're making lasagna here. We're not talking about healthy stuff or anything.
Well, we can though. We can.
Deliciousness, all of the good things that we love in our life. This is like a big, warm hug from Nonna. That's what I'm thinking about here. Every time I make this, that's what I'm thinking about. A little bit of the meat sauce on top, more lasagna sheets on there. We just want to just load it all up. Now, we want to make sure that we've got plenty of layers on here, so we'll keep finishing this off. Put some cheese on the top of it, and then put it in the oven. It'll take about 45 minutes to an hour at 180 degrees Celsius. Let's finish this off.
Okay.
Have a smell of that lasagna. Delicious, isn't it?
It is. There's something nostalgic when a lasagna comes out of the oven. A comforting feeling.
That's an interesting word to use. Nostalgia reminds me of the good old days. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, I have very fond memories when the lasagna comes out. Wow, one word has thrown you off. Here we go.
Oh, just big words for me. Now, I'm just going to grab this one out here like this and make sure I've got it properly. Look at that. Looks great. Pop it onto the plate here. Oh, looking
very juicy.
That's what we're looking for. Lots of flavour, lots of juice in there. Knife and fork in here. And I'm just going to cut into this.
I'll go here.
I'm looking at the pasta to make sure that's cooked all the way through. No doubt. Looks beautiful because I had the right amount of liquid in there.
Now, that is beautiful. It is very rich with the white sauce and also the processed meat. I'd probably have a small amount and probably not every day. But that is delicious. I can't knock it. I would just take some of the things and adapt them.
The processed meat, you mean the delicious ham, the mortadella and the salami?
Correct.
That's what makes it fabulous.
It's yummy though. Well done.
Thank you.